So Dmitry, let's start today. I really want to ask you about what's happening. Obviously you're in Abu Dhabi, you're at ADGM. Maybe for a lot of our viewers who are watching this from around the world, can you maybe summarize what is ADGM and especially how is it different when it comes to digital assets and blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a pleasure. So ADGM is one of the largest financial centers in the world and the largest in the region, in the MENA region. We are located in the center of Abu Dhabi, the capital of UAE. We have our own huge physical space. And in terms of crypto and blockchain, we have a very forward-looking approach. So it's not a very well-known fact, but ADGM was the first regulator in the world to introduce comprehensive virtual asset regulations back in 2018. And we remained at this mission ever since. So we take a very holistic approach at blockchain and crypto, looking not only at venues like trading or custody, but also at things like protocols and development of those protocols, at things that are not so obvious, such as DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, or Web3 entities, things that typically are very difficult to kind of regulate and provide legal rails for. So we are approaching this industry very comprehensively.
So let's talk about DLTs. And to what extent do you think that they're changing the financial services landscape?
So I think there are two separate topics here. So financial services and DLT, it's a bit like apples and oranges. Financial services is financial services. So they have been around for many, many years, hundreds of years, thousands. And DLT is a technology, distributed ledger technology that allows the financial services to function in a new way. Mm-hmm. So my focus at ADGM is at enabling the DLT to develop the technology that enables new fields. And it's not only limited to financial technologies, it's enabling robotics, it's enabling AI, it's enabling Internet of Things, it's enabling autonomous transportation. So such a huge range of things that are all tied to the principles of DLT and blockchain.
But you mentioned all these topics of robotics, AI, and as a regulator, obviously all these industries, including crypto, moves very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Based on your experience right now and what you've seen, I mean, what are the advice you have to regulators, or what do you find is a good way for regulators to keep up with this rapid pace of the change that is taking place in these verticals?
Yes, it's always a challenge. It reminds me a little bit of sandcastle that you're building on the beach that is being washed away by waves, and then you have to rebuild it all over again every year because the technology is so fast moving. So one good principle that we have adapted is a principle-based approach. Mm. So we aim to regulate the activity or create rules for the activity instead of being very prescriptive of how to actually execute this. So this helps a lot. Number two would be a constant a dialogue with the industry. So Henri, you may have seen me at many events, speaking, participating at roundtables, at symposiums, forums, and so on. This is because we always need feedback from the industry participants, and we want to know what they need, not just now, but also tomorrow, before it becomes something that needs to be reactive rather than proactive. And number three is probably leveraging the technology. So as the technology becomes more and more complicated, oversight for regulators becomes complicated as well. And if we don't adapt the new technology as regulators, we'll never catch up with the industry. So it's very important to early on adapt currently technologies such as AI and blockchain monitoring, same as the industry standards require.
You just mentioned that you'd like to hear feedback from the participants.
Yes.
At the same time, to what extent do you think that it's important to actually collaborate with other financial institutions to make sure that DLT initiatives for ADGM are progressing?
So I think that we're in constant dialogue, and this is fostered through not only our participation in events, but also through our proactive approach to hosting such events. So one of the events that is coming up is Abu Dhabi Finance Week. It's happening on between the 9th and 11th of December this year, and I very warmly invite you both to come and to take part in it. It's going to be a massive event aimed at institutionals, and most progressive regulators will be there. It will be TradFi, it will be virtual asset service providers, it will be all sorts of participants. So this is sort of a dialogue that we constantly have, not only with the industry, but also with other regulators, also with countries, jurisdictions, with all sorts of players.
One last question, Dmitry. Like, obviously, when we look, you mentioned number of verticals before. You know that before, from robotics to AI to crypto. What do you think, if you look down the line a couple of years from now, what are these verticals that you think will need to be regulated or need some oversight from regulatory bodies around the world?
So it's a good question. So on one hand, the regulators always have this challenge of enabling innovation versus regulating stuff. So I think it's important to address these things early on before you need to address them as a last measure of last resort. So having in place already frameworks that address ethical issues with, let's say, AI, or issues that may arise down the road with all these emerging technologies, it's extremely important to be very successful once these technologies emerge.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Dmitry Fedotov, from the head of DLT Foundation at ADGM. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.